before Alex DeBrincat was traded to the Detroit Red Wings, the Ottawa Senators were interested in Vladimir Tarasenko. Pierre got those big old we're a team eyes, and he wanted this guy. But it just made even more sense from a goal-scoring perspective once Alex DeBrincat was shipped out that, like, hey, this guy can play right wing even though he shoots left. Great one-timer option, just like DeBrincat was. I will throw as many drinks across the room as I have to get this guy. And sure enough, they got him. 1 year, $5 million. Everyone's got their happily ever after, right? Well, if you listen to fans of other teams in the Atlantic Division, like this Buffalo Sabres fan who says that Tarasenko is a less good Victor Olofsson, honestly, you'd probably believe that Vladimir Tarasenko had trouble getting up a flight of stairs by himself, let alone scoring goals. Like, it's ridiculous how much fans of the Habs, the Leafs, the Red Wings, the Sabres are trashing this guy. And if I had $1 every time somebody's called him washed since he signed that contract with Ottawa, I'd be a millionaire right now. But on the other side of things, a lot of Sens fans seem to think they got 2016 Vladimir Tarasenko, and now that they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Atlantic Division, all because of this one signing. Both sides are drastically over-exaggerating, overreacting. And the truth probably lies somewhere more in the middle of these two extremes. Like, if you don't know the answer to it, let me ask you to guess right now what Tarasenko's age is. What are you going to say? 33? 35? The dude's still only 31 years old. It doesn't feel like it because he's had a ton of injury troubles and he's been in the league since 2012. But don't forget that he's only one season removed from scoring 34 goals, and there was a time not that long ago where he was one of the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League. It doesn't go away overnight. Now, Sens fans, does that mean that he's going to be competing for the Rocket Richard Trophy this year? No. It just means that he has a lot more goal-scoring acumen and ability than a lot of people are giving him credit for, and he's going to be able to produce. Like, if he stays healthy, which is going to be the big key here, I think he absolutely is going to score between 25 and 35 goals, which is what DeBrincat did, and for $5 million, I don't know about you, but in the modern-day NHL, I would pay $5 million. I'd be making that rain in a second for 25 to 35 goals. But yeah, I just wanted to clear this up because I'm seeing people on both sides of the ledgers overreact to this. Like, this doesn't make the Sens instant cup contenders, but it also isn't them signing a retiree. Like, this is a good move. That's it, that's all. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. How many goals for Tarasenko next year? Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. So we talked the other day about how apparently the second Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner put pen to paper on their contract extensions that were absolutely mammoth-sized, they must have known it was going to come with a ton of scrutiny, especially if they didn't produce results and go on deep playoff runs year after year. And guess what? They haven't. So now in Toronto, and honestly in the whole NHL, I don't want to just say, oh, it's only the Toronto media. No, this is an NHL-wide thing, quote-unquote, taking less to win. And people like to point to Patrice Bergeron, who took less to win. Brad Marchand took less to make the Bruins better. Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, I mean, those two are less fair because there's non-existent state tax in Florida. But still, people like to point to these guys and be like, see, they won because they didn't take all the money that they could have, and then their team was able to build a better roster around them. And Mitch Marner really doesn't help his case with this being in every single commercial known to man. But there's been a narrative floating around with these two guys that, oh, they don't care about winning, they just care about being superstars and making a ton of money. And Brian Hayes on Overdrive spoke to this a few days ago. And he didn't mention Matthews and Marner by name, but he did say that there's a lot of key players on the Toronto Maple Leafs who are more focused on business than winning. And it sets a culture within the team where you got 4 players making 50% of the salary cap. And they compared this to 10 years ago when Patrice Bergeron needed a new deal. And
what? Ryan, please.
His agent said, hey, Patrice, you can go and get $9.5 million here. Then he was like, nah, I want to win some more cups. I'm going to take 6.5 instead. And they end up settling on 6.8 million, which apparently inspired other guys to take less to win, and that helped lead them to the finals twice more after 2011 and go on a few really deep playoff runs. So again, it's very clear here who the fingers pointed at in these types of comments. I mean, if you're saying things like, oh, they care more about business than winning, obviously the eyes are going to go right to the guys who are making over $10 $10 million per season, and didn't sign for the max term 8 years, but are being walked right to UFA without giving any of their UFA years to Leafs, and are in every single commercial on TV. And I don't know, man, I'm not going to come out here and completely fall on the sword and defend Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner because, yeah, clearly it doesn't help the team that they took way more money than they could have. But also, can you really fault a guy for wanting to get the bag? Like, I know a lot of us like to think that we would take less if we were in their situation, but if we actually were, how many of us actually would? I mean, probably a lot less than are saying it on the internet. But on the same token, the criticism is totally fair. Don't get me wrong on that. If you're going to take that big piece of the pie and you're going to lose in the playoffs and, hey, for a lot of times, not show up to the best of your abilities at all, and you're going to go and do all the Bet 99 and skip the dishes commercials, you're going to get it flung at you from every direction. And look, it's not like the Leafs have had to ice a bunch of beer leaguers and James Neal out there. Like, they've been able to go get some really good players over the years to complement these guys. Like, especially this past trade deadline, Kyle Dubas went absolutely sicko mode, getting everyone and everything he could to complement these guys in the playoffs. Except the goalie. And it's nuts, because you could talk to 10 Leaf fans on the street and you'll get 10 different answers about why the Leafs can't win. Like, you get one guy who say they're too soft, the top guys make too much money, they're not surrounding the top guys with the right players, trade Nylander, trade Marner, they need a goalie. Like, you'll get it from every direction. So I'm not sure if it's completely fair to hone in on, oh no, it's because the culture is about business, not about winning. That's why they're losing. I think, hey, like I said, there's a bunch of different things that you could point to and say that's why. Now again, it is a factor for sure. If the Leafs had $2 or $4 million of extra cap space because Matthews Marner took less, of course that would help them win. But I don't think that that is the issue. And now the juicy part. Let me know what you think the reason is in the comments down below why the Leafs can't seem to get over the hump and get to be So we talked the other day about how apparently the Boston Bruins might prefer Elias Lindholm as a replacement for Patrice Bergeron at 1C to Mark Scheifele, who's been linked to the Bruins for over a year and a half now. We talked about how that makes sense because Bergeron and Lindholm were Selke finalists, and if Bergeron didn't win the Selke in 2022, it was going to Lindholm. And they play extremely similar styles, so it just makes sense, a perfect fit for the Boston Bruins. But this is a guy that, hey, they don't come on the market every day. This guy doesn't grow on trees, so if the Boston Bruins want him, the thought is they're going to have to give up quite a bit to the Calgary Flames. But Jimmy Murphy of Boston Hockey Now talked to an NHL hockey operations source who dropped a tidbit about the trade price for Elias Lindholm and what Craig Conroy is probably looking for in terms of a return if Boston and Calgary were to hook up here. Quote, if the Bruins want Lindholm, it's likely Jake DeBrusk. This is the key part here. They don't want any picks, and the Bruins have none. They want a scoring winger that can make up for Tyler Toffoli being traded. There's probably more that would be in that trade, obviously, but DeBrusk would be the target, I think. Again, the two key parts there is first, they don't want any picks, and secondly, Jake DeBrusk being the target, being quite possibly the centerpiece coming back to the Calgary Flames, that's scary for Flames fans. Like, don't get me wrong, DeBrusk is a pretty good player. He's only 26 years old. He's coming off back-to-back 25-plus goal seasons. He's good. He can play in your top six. But as a centerpiece for a guy who was a Selke finalist not even 2 years ago, who's put up 40 goals, and was probably your most important player for the past year and a half, I'm not so sure. And I'm going to just say that I would love for Jake DeBrusk to be Calgary Flame. He's from Edmonton. His dad works there. He knows what it's like to grow up in a hockey market. I think he would be a really good fit for the Flames. But again, you got to swing for the fences if you're trading Lindholm here. If you're saying we don't want you, you got to get a haul back. So it better be Jake DeBrusk plus, plus, plus. And the fact that Conroy doesn't want any picks tells you that, hey, they want to go nowhere near a rebuild. They don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They want to retool on the fly here and stay competitive if they're just wanting scoring wingers and players who can provide for them right now. Because, again, if you're looking at the prospect pool for the Boston Bruins, that's the bargain bin, man. There's almost nothing there that should be of interest to the Calgary Flames right now. So yeah, if there's no picks involved here, this is a really weird trade price, and I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with this. Like, obviously it wouldn't be DeBrusk for Lindholm 1-for-1. Bruins fans can dream. But if that's the case, I'm just wondering, like, what other players would be involved in this deal? You guys can let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking about this. Because usually, again, when you see a piece like Lindholm being moved generally, you'll see a first-round pick in there, a second-round pick, things like that. But if they don't want picks, This is going to be a weird trade. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Eek, my man. The bro has stayed with me since
Finally find that thing
1988.
you've always wanted in a place on apartments.com.
No more bull.
Stack it on there.
Whether you need tickets to football, baseball, hockey, or Peter Farrelly's seminar titled How I Traded Jordan Eberle for a Bag of Peanuts,
The other day, right before free agency began, Aiden Hill secured his bag and re-signed with the Vegas Golden Knights for another 2 years at $4.9 million a year. That's a great deal for Hill after he bounced around a bit before finding his home in Vegas and, of course, going on a fantastic run, which brought home the cup. Hill started his career after getting drafted by the Yotes in 2015, being taken 76th overall. He got his first ice time in the NHL 2 years later, in 2017. After spending 3 years between the AHL and NHL, Hill signed a contract with the Shark, and he finally played more than